go live button here. Preparing. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Brothers Blues Live. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Good. This is different than our normal show. Our normal show, we usually drink beer and talk what we're talking about as far as on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to do a little bit of review of my trip to my road trip to
Byrne.
Hopefully, once this we'll do this live, and hopefully some people jump in and talk. After that, this will be saved to the YouTube page, so people can go back and I can go back and see what I was doing in a couple years. So let's make sure here that we're online here, because this is our first roll here.
Good, man. How about you?
Good. Oh, this is different than our normal.
Yeah, you got to turn the volume down, dude.
All right. So I see we're there. So that's really good. Oh, I love it going live. So first and foremost, what I'm having here is, while we get this going here, I'm drinking a Plum Street Porter, which was the best porter I had probably on the trip. Not probably, it was the best porter I had on the trip. Fantastic porter out of Bozeman Brewing. So cheers to that. What do you got?
All right, I'm gonna drink this particular one just because this is Victory Golden Monkey. It's a Belgian triple with spice. It packs a wallop with 9.5%, but it drinks so smooth. It's really great beer for hot weather, and it's fucking hot here. So yeah, I'm happy to be drinking this. It's one of my summer favorites.
Yeah, a nice triple in the summer, man. That's, as we were talking about before, that's almost it's almost lawnmower sessionable. Almost. I mean,
almost. Really. The ABV is like not great for lawn mowing, but the taste is, the spices, banana spices, it's in a little bit out of the lawnmower realm for me, but I still drink the hell out of it when it's warm.
Absolutely. So let's jump in. I live in the Midwest. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. Montana's 22 hours away. At least Great Falls was. So I had to break that up. So my first night was, I drove right through Wisconsin and Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I drove almost all the way through North Dakota and got to Bismarck. I stayed a night there, and I went to 5 breweries in Bismarck. The thing that stood out to me at Bismarck was Laughing Sun Brewery. Fantastic. If you're ever there, they're the OG there. I rolled up there in the middle of the afternoon, had all their beers. No one was there. It's a fantastic spot. The thing that started the whole Scotch Ale festival, I want to call it, that whole week, was Bismarck. Every single one had a Scotch Ale there, and I just started to see that malt forward trend already in North Dakota. North Dakota is beautiful, especially the west part. There's Teddy Roosevelt State Park there. I stopped off the road there and just wanted to take some pictures, and literally there was a buffalo like running around right near where the people park, and people were like taking pictures, and like the buffalo would look, and then it would eat, and then like people would come close and the buffalo would look, and people would back up, right, and then the buffalo would look, and I'm like, you guys are gonna get charged, man. I was like hiding behind, like it was really cool though, how the buffaloes literally roam out there, and it was fantastic, man. So then I just jumped, kept going, got to Bismarck, stayed a night, visited 5 breweries. Again, solid breweries, but malt forward. There's Dialectic is a brewery there. They had a peanut butter porter that I thought was pretty good. Some others kind of panned it, but I thought it was pretty good. But you know me, Doug, I'm a sucker for porters.
Me too, man. And if it was a peanut butter porter, I'd definitely be giving that a go.
Right. And I don't know, man, like when I say I'm a sucker, I mean that like I like them myself. So there are times where people will not like them as much as me, but that's because I'm a sucker.
Now, you and I we'll both be at a brewery and be like, give me the porter, please.
Porter's always I don't know about you, but I'm Daddy Porter, obviously, so I always get them. But to me, they're another marker of a good brewery if you have one and it's pretty good. Because I don't know, is it hard to fuck up a porter? Probably.
Well, I think you can. I've had some porters I was not a very, very big fan of because I just didn't think it was roasty enough. It usually is my complaint. If it's not, doesn't have that really roasty taste to it. If it's a little flat, I'm not on it. But anyway, not my taste. Let's continue on the trip, man.
No, right. So I sprinkling the porters there in Bismarck. Again, I had a good time there. Visited 5. The star of the show for me was Laughing Sun, but they've been there forever. They've been doing it forever. Good times there. So if you're ever in Bismarck, go there. So I had to get to Beer Now conference at noon in Great Falls. Great Falls is 8 hours away from Bismarck. So I had to start at like 3 a.m. So I started really early. I think I was texting you or something about how early it is, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And it was 8 hours.
What time did you settle down in Bismarck to go to bed?
Well, I stayed a night there. So when I got to Bismarck, like 8 o'clock at night, then I stayed that night, and then the next day I did the breweries, and then I stayed.
Okay, so it was like I got to Bismarck, did all the breweries, and I went to bed, and then I got up at 3.
Right? No. Got to Bismarck, had a night, and then got up in the morning, did the breweries, and then had like a half night of sleep and left there like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or something like that. So yeah, it was tight there, but I definitely had 2 nights of sleep, and I needed to make sure that I was good to go. I'm driving because I was the only one. So got up at 4 a.m. I had to get to Great Falls so I can catch the bus for Beer Now to Hellena at noon. So I barely got there. Good times. Parked the car, get in the car, jump over to Hellena. This was part of the conference. So it wasn't really part of my road trip. Once I got to Great Falls, stopped the car. That's where the conference was. So for 4 days, I didn't really drive at all. I just took the conference bus and all that stuff. So that was fun. Jumped off to Hellena. This is part of the road trip, but it's really more of the conference. Hellena Breweries. We did like 5 of those. They were fantastic, man. If you're ever out there for Hellena, they have the biggest one is Lewis and Clark. They've been around forever. They pretty much, I wouldn't say own that area, but they're like the big G out there. They're probably your Amagang. As far as like the spread or Trogs would be another good one actually. Maybe even Trogs. They'd be more like Trogs where Trogs is just regional. They're up where you are. They're down in Philly. They're over in Pittsburgh. They're like, what I'm saying? That's what Lewis and Clark is. And Lewis and Clark, man, they had not 1, not 2, but 3 Scotch ales, man. 3. One of them was I wish I could pull it up here, but one of them was a barrel aged something or other Scotch ale. I mean, they were all fantastic. Lewis and Clark is one of those breweries that embrace the Scotch ale. So we talked on other things, but I didn't. This needs to be a conversation here. Is the Scotch ale and the barley forward beers and malt forward beers that is Montana. Every place I went to had a Scotch ale, and if they didn't have a Scotch ale or Scottish ale, I said, "Hey, where's your Scotch ale?" "Oh, we don't do one on purpose." So they either do one on purpose or they don't do one on purpose. So it's just really the dynamic there was Scotch ale heavy. Again, if you didn't see one, you were almost like, "Where's the Scotch ale?" Even though if you didn't want one, you were just like,
"Why are you doing?"
Yeah, at the end of my trip, I was like, wow. And I'm talking to you because you're a Scotch ale guy. We talk a lot about that's one of your favorite styles.
It is.
And you were just drooling through my pictures.
I was like, man, I am so jealous. But you did run into some that didn't have them. And like, usually their excuse was like, well, everybody else does them, so we don't want to do them.
Right. That's what it was. And it was more of like a rebel thing. Or the one brewer said, we do it seasonally. So we'll do one in the fall and we'll just have it around. But once it's gone, we're done with it. We want to do more styles. We want to do different stuff, and we don't want to fall. That's part about breweries is they don't want to. A lot of them don't want to fall or be the same as the one up the street.
Yeah, they want to venture out. Yeah,
right. So Hellena Breweries, man, fantastic. I have to mention Snow Hop. Snow Hop was the only brewery that not only did I visit, it was the only brewery in Montana that has a female head brewer. She does. Cool. All the brewing, and when I mean all the brewing, she's the only brewer there. That's it. She does it all.
Wow.
She has no assistants. In fact, her assistants are 2 beautiful, cool pups that she had there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're absolutely cool. And she was just like, "Look at my pups," and the pups were like,
"Yeah, I'm here."
But it was really cool. And then she makes some really interesting beers. One of the beers that she makes is it was a fusion between beer and a Bloody Mary. And I'm not a Bloody Mary guy.
Me either.
But it was fantastic. And what they did was they did the little sugar rim.
Yeah.
They did salt. It was not sugar rim, sorry. It was a salt and bacon rim. And they did that. And then they did half a beer and like a little bit of the mix, and I don't know. I think they did this behind the thing, and then voila, and it was so good, Doug. And I'm not a big beer cocktail guy. I'm not really a traditionalist. I'm cool if you're gonna make beer cocktails, but that was fantastic, man.
Did they put the celery stalk in it and everything?
No. We didn't go that far. Like they were making sure that it still was a cold beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were leaning more on the beer side than the Bloody Mary side. But this is something that you could have had on a Sunday morning. I mean, it was really I was gonna say a beautiful beer. It was just really unique, man. I just can't say enough. And so long story short, this is a blog. We're bloggers, so like we get to a brewery and they're like, okay, you guys know all this shit. So what do you guys want to know? Like they don't take us to the normal brewery, like you put your hops in here and then you drink and you go to the bash done. We're like way past that. So she had a nice little talk, and then one of our blogger friends took her aside and was interviewing her, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I just stood in the back and I was just listening to it was a female and she was a female, and I was just listening to the blogger try to extract information from her, and she was just really humble about talking about how she doesn't want to be she's not a brewer she's not want to be known for her gender. She wants to be known because she brews good beer. But it was hard getting to where she was at. And she was very, very, again, diplomatic about it. It wasn't like she was out there like, look, I was great and people should have had me before. She was like, no. I worked really, 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 really hard to get here. And I had many, many obstacles. And she was just very diplomatic about it. Humble, wonderful. If you're ever in Helena, it's a little bit on the outskirts. It's called Snow Hop. I can't talk enough about it. The other beers are just great. We just had a really, really good time there. Snow Hop Brewing, Helena, man, can't tell you enough. So we had our night in Helena. It was great. I'm missing Blackfoot Brewery, and that was a great one too. I did mention Lewis and Clark, and I have to. So we get on the bus. We stayed in Helena one night. We get on the bus, come back to Great Falls. We're at the conference a couple of days. I only been to one brewery in Great Falls, and it was okay. But it wasn't anything to remember. That was great. It was a good time. They sponsored the brewer. They sponsored the event, so good times. But so then the conference ended, and I hit the road to go to Missoula on my own. The rest of the conference went somewhere else. They went up to Glacier, and unfortunately, I couldn't go there because of the logistics. Because I was driving, only had so many days, and I couldn't go 3 hours north, like basically to Canada at this point, and I tried to double all the way back. So I couldn't do that part. But the family and I are talking about going back to Glacier. Glacier and Montana remind me, and I hear a lot about, they remind me a lot like Maine.
Yeah.
You guys on the East Coast, where it's just so majestically beautiful with the water and the mountains and the changing diverse. Talk a little bit about where I get my other beer. Maine, and you've been there, and you said to me that like Maine sounds a little bit like Montana.
Yeah, for me, like when we go to Maine, we generally are like when we vacation, we take a vacation every year, and usually it's in the Adirondacks or Maine has been the last 2 years. We're going to go up there again here in another couple weeks. It's just gorgeous, and it's very woodsy, which is how I prefer. I'm not a white sandy beach guy. Like I can go there, and I like the ocean, but when you go to those kind of beaches, it's rocky and it's there's a lot of character to it, whereas a white sandy beach to me just feels very monotone. And the breweries that I've been to up there have just been really, really great. They just have a lot of different stuff. I always look forward to going up to Maine because one, it's not nearly as hot. That is a plus for me because when it's like 70, I'm sweating my ass off. So like I'm always looking for something that's a little less hot. But Maine's gorgeous, and you run from, if you're on the coast, you can get just a couple miles inland and you got some mountains. It's not like the Rockies. Like, when you're out towards Montana, everything, those mountains are like straight up. These are way more rolling kind of mountains. You can see moose. I have not seen any. My wife has, but I haven't because her job requires her to travel, and she had to go up to Maine, and she drove up and drove back and saw a couple moose up there on the side of the road. So she was thrilled.
Yes.
So that was cool for her. For me, like I enjoy it. I think it's just really lovely up there. So I think it'd be something if we could figure out a way to go there together and just do some brewery things up that way right along.
Yeah, Maine's on my short list, and I gotta visit. Shout out to my friend Carla.
Yeah,
Maine Beer Babe, you know her too. She's fantastic, and we're gonna have to definitely hook that up. So I remember writing to you when I left from Great Falls to go to Missoula, and I get to Missoula, and I was like, man, that trip was fire. You're like fire, like real fire.
Like it's not like on fire, is it?
Right. Which is a legit, obviously, the wildfires and all that. I was like,
I just wanted to make sure. Like, all right.
Right. I was like, fire like snow-capped mountains and rivers and streams and just beautiful. It's a shame to drive to, one of two things I don't like about road trips as far as the beer travel goes. One, I got to pass so many breweries on my road trips, and it sucks. Two, you got to keep your eyes forward. You can't be like looking around. And Montana is a place where you have to drive with someone because you're just going to be looking around. It was just beautiful. I've never driven a better road ever. I mean, some of it was really, really, some of it was really stressful because these people in Montana are used to driving these mountains. And I'm not. So when a mountain's like this, and I'm like going down I'm like, and they're like behind me. Come on, dude, go. Like move. Like what is that? That's ludicrous, right? Move, bitch, get out the way. Yeah. That was them to me.
Were they honking all over behind you and everything too?
Yes, behind me. So there's times where I was pulling over because I'm like, I just want to go 25 miles an hour and look at the trees. I'm sorry. I'm that guy. And then they were looking at me. No, I'm not an old lady. No, I'm not. Like, I'm just a dumb tourist with a dumb, they could tell by my license plate too. But no, that trip, man, was beautiful. I get to Missoula and I was just like, my mind was blown away as far as how beautiful Montana was. And I wasn't even, I just drove to the mountains basically. And I was just like, damn.
Yeah.
So point to your point about the mountains, and even when they're not as majestic as they are in Montana, it's still, when you don't live around them, like,
yeah, it's still really breathtaking.
Right. So get to Missoula, man. Missoula had some of my favorite breweries. I got to jump to talk about Imagination Brewing. This place, you walk in, it felt like my Zen moment. They had a disco ball, they had a library. I mean, they had these different colors. And I get the beers. If people are nice, get the beers. Every beer has a story, like a paragraph story, like an in-depth paragraph story, like a I don't want to say. I hate the fucking term, and yes, I do. I hate the fucking term social justice warrior. I fucking hate it. It's bullshit. But that was the best way that I could describe the way that they described the beers. A lot of it was like I'm pretty sure there was a beer dedicated to Nelson Mandela. So that's it.
That's cool.
So it wasn't really like American politics. It was just more about just like broader, bigger things. And every beer had a story, why we brewed it, who we brewed it for, and every beer was fantastic, Doug. Every beer was great. So what happened was I was in there and I was just like, holy shit. Like when I go to a brewery and it's just the best, my mind just starts to explode. And I'm just like, it just becomes less about the beers and just more about the experience. Long story shorter, I had such a good time there. And I didn't really even talk to these people. So I go and I give them my beers back and they're looking and they're like, are you sure you enjoyed it? Because I left, I took this much of each beer. Like I do everywhere.
Yeah,
I was driving.
You do.
Yeah, and I did, and they're like, "Are you sure you liked it?" I was like, "I thought every beer here was fantastic. This is my favorite spot so far." And they're like, "Wow, that's cool." And I'll be right back. So I went to my car, and as you know, I took a whole bunch of beer from Philly and Wisconsin out there. So I just dropped like 6 or 7 beers on them, and I was just like, "Here, guys, you guys are doing great. I just have a really good feeling about it." This place, I can't stay because I have 6 other stops I need to make. If I would just sit here all day and talk to you guys. And they were just so awesome. And they're like, who are you? what's your blog? And I'm like, I don't really even care about that. I really didn't. It wasn't about like Daddy Porter or me or anything. Yeah. It was just more about like, I can tell that you guys give off such a really good vibe. And with all due respect, I'm sorry, Montana, I would just normally find a beer brewery like this in Denver or a big city as opposed to out in Montana. It was just so sweet, Doug.
Yeah.
It really was. And so then I just gave them beer and they're just like, oh, who are you? And I was like, I'm Daddy Porter. You'll find me anywhere. And you can just Google it.
Whatever. You can go
yeah, but I don't know. They wanted to get back to me because I gave them beer. And I was like, no.
No, this is me giving you stuff. Yeah.
Right. I can tell that you could just tell by this being in this place that they've helped more people than they have gotten help back or they've gotten anything back. You could just tell. It was just one of those places. So, man, that place is I got 4 shirts from there. That's my brewery is at, man. If I could ever just go back to one brewery and just sit there all day and just take it all in, it would be that one. Fantastic.
How long were you at that particular one?
20 minutes.
Oh, all the other ones, and you're just like, I gotta go. I don't want to.
Man, this is what sucks though, because again, this is what sucks about these trips, because sometimes it's just like, man, do I stay here or do I go to the next one? And the next one could be just as good, but it's probably not going to be. But to get the whole full Missoula experience, that was, part of what I had to do. But before I got there, I was at Highlander, and I sent you a picture of that where I was literally sitting next to this rolling creek.
Yeah.
And I had a beer there, and it was a rolling creek. It was like this creek was moving. It was like, and there's just chairs there. There's kids running around, and there's just all a nice pavilion. It was just that place, Highlander. It was in Missoula. It was that place was vintage Montana. That was if I live in Montana, I want a brewery like this where it's just you're outdoors. And they had great sliced pizza, man. Their pizza was, I'm not gonna say as good as you guys get pizza, because again, sorry everyone. Hate to give you this disclaimer. The best Neapolitan pizza comes from the East Coast. Sorry. The best pizza, in my opinion, comes from the East Coast. Sorry, that's just, you can at me, you can go to the comments, whatever.
People are going to have some issues with you on that one, but that's okay.
Okay, that's cool. Listen, Chicago. See, again, sorry, Chicago pizza. That's not pizza. That's right. Okay, so pizza to me is you pick it up, and you know what I mean. You don't have to hold it with 2 hands. You might have to fold it. You know what I'm saying? That kind of right.
Yeah, if the Chicago one, you got to sometimes eat it with a freaking fork.
You got to eat it with a fork, and then you eat one piece, and it's like you ate 6 pieces of lasagna. That's not pizza. That's something else. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not pizza. No. Anyway, Montana had some good pizza there, man. Believe it or not. So Highlander was another good one. We talked about Imagination, and then I absolutely have to talk about this one, which is the Space Goat Pale Ale. I was at Big Sky Brewing. They do Moose Drool. You ever had Moose Drool?
Moose Drool?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of it.
It's a brown ale. It's pretty much well known here in Wisconsin, but I don't think it's gotten as far as you.
Yeah, that might be a little far for it to get to.
Right. If I ever get any Moose Drool, I'm gonna definitely send it your way. But that's what they're known for. Big Sky. That was a nice area. That was a nice brewery too. Actually, that was one of the only breweries in Montana that had that seltzer, hard seltzer. Have you had any of this mess yet?
Yeah, I've had. Well, my wife has drinks it sometimes, and we have friends who come over, and that's kind of what they drink exclusively. I tried to give them beer, and they're just like, "Yeah, that's a little too much for me." But
wait, hold on. Sorry, folks, gotta go off on a tangent. So they drink hard seltzer exclusively. That's what you're telling me.
Pretty much, yeah. They'll drink wine, but they're in this mode where they think that is better for them from a calorie perspective, and it might be. But for me, I can't drink that stuff that's bubbly. All that carbonation is a little too much for me. But
right. We learned about this at the Beer Now, and hard seltzer is not. I mean, it's a fad, but it's something that needs to be really looked at. It's huge, big. It's bigger than, I don't know. We weren't. It's funny because every year we go to Beer Now and they talk about these trends and all this. It wasn't even on the radar last year, and this year it's like a 40% increase or something. So that's why when you're like they drink it exclusively, I'm like, man, like that. Who you just told me is the demographic of the people who are drinking this like crazy. It just got out of control really fast. But I saw 3 of them there. I had them. I'm not a big fan. It's not my thing. But I can see how it is. And also Julia Hurt said that like somebody said there's a healthy element to it where people believe that they can have their alcohol and it's a little bit healthier.
Yeah, and it's not like almost like a Michelob Ultra kind of feel to it where it's like.
Yeah. And it's fascinating, man. But yeah, Big Sky was the only one that I saw actually really doing them. And I actually I took a can home and I thought it was hard seltzer, but it was regular seltzer from them. So they're even canning regular seltzer. So somebody must be buying it.
Must be. And the thing is, like there's a bunch of the ones up in New York that make beer and root beer and ginger beer, and they make all different kinds of things, not just regular beer. So that's a fairly common thing here. So
Yep. So
I will tell you just about the hard seltzer thing, if I might.
Oh yeah.
There is one that's like Truly is one of the big brands, and I picked up one for Jill that was like made by Oscar Blues.
Okay.
And she was not a fan. So I will save them and give them to my friends. But they made several of those. So Oscar Blues, even the 1050 people, they made some of them too. So apparently breweries are making those as well. But I haven't run into a ton of them. Usually they're just kind of ones that I've never heard of that just came up out of nowhere. But it's like when I go to, like I said, I go to Wegmans to get beer a lot, and there's a whole section of those hard seltzers all over the place.
Man, they're springing out of everywhere, and it's not about me, but I'm just fascinated about how things go so fast. So last year at Beer Now, this is gonna be a great segue. Last year at Beer Now, we were talking about CBD oil and hemp products, and whether legalization of marijuana has affected beer sales in Colorado. That's still an ongoing thing that we talk about all the time. And so CBD and hemp were on the radar last year. CBD and hemp, as far as beer goes, have dropped. They're not even on the radar anymore, generally speaking, as far as trends. Which and then Seltzer has taken over that. But that has not stopped. Kettle House here Brewing was one of the breweries that it was the last brewery I visited in Missoula that day. It didn't stop them from making a fresh bong water hemp ale. Kettle House. Yeah. So yeah. So we'll crack this bad boy up. Crack this bad boy open here. So for whatever reason, these CBD oils and these hemp beers are they're not catching on as much, or brewers aren't brewing them as much as they were a year ago. And I don't know, we heard some things real quick that say that the cannabis industry is not hurting the beer industry, and
I would think so. I think they're two kind of different groups of folks. Not saying there's not some intermingling, but I think that's like two different groups of folks that are going to be in that. That's a lot of head on that beer. Holy moly. Yeah,
I poured it aggressively. But so fresh bong water hemp ale, Kettle House. Kettle House is what Kettle House is known for, Doug, is their Scotch ale. Their Scotch ale, and the name of it is eluding me, unfortunately. Their Scotch ale is the OG out there. It's the one that they're the ones who made Scotch ale out there, apparently, and people just mirror them and just take it off them. So for them to have this beer, I don't know, they have a whole bunch of beers, but their OG is the Scottish ale, and I just bought this one because it's cool, and I don't know, it's hemp ale. So let me do this here, and not much nose.
All right.
Anybody talking to us?
Not yet, but I was looking at the Kettle House to see what their Scotch ale is called. So that's what I'm looking up now.
Oh, thank you for bailing me out. Cheers. Yeah. Even at the pub, I'm not getting much hemp, but I'm not sure what hemp. Everybody assumes hemp is weed, right? Is this so? We assume that it's a danky we assume that it's when I hand you a beer that says fresh bong water, what are you expecting, Doug?
From my very limited experience with weed, not of good taste.
Well, listen, fresh bong water should be pretty good if it's fresh, right? Like no one used.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I don't know. It's fresh. It's good. I'm not feeling, and I didn't at the brew pub either. I'm not feeling the connection with. Again, they put the weed. So look at that, man.
Yeah, they got it right on the freaking label.
Right.
they're not pussy putting around with that one.
Right. Hemp ale. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You're on the website. Maybe you can read on there.
Their Scotch ale they have listed here is Cold Smoke.
Cold Smoke?
That's on tap. That one is listed at 6.5%. It looks, I don't know if you can see it on my phone, but that's kind of a bad thing. It's like a red can.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's the OG. Yep. Cold Smoke?
Yep, Cold Smoke is the name of it.
And it's a smoky one. But yeah, so this is Fresh Bong Water Kettle House. They were in Missoula. They were my last stop. It was a good time. In fact, I remember watching the Stanley Cup final. It was game 6 there, something like that. So good times. They had 2 brew pubs there. Good times. So I only stayed in Missoula one night. I got there early in that afternoon. Did what's this say? 7 breweries here. Let's see, Guild. Yep, Guild. That was a good brewery. Those guys from Philly. I met the guys. Droughtworks. Conflux was decent. It was pretty good. Yeah. So Missoula was good time, man. I only spent one day there, and then I was off to Bozeman. I got an Airbnb there for 2 days. So I left Missoula, got to Bozeman, and I at least had like 2 days to do their 7 breweries and just chill out. I stayed a block off of downtown Bozeman, which was awesome. I can't tell you how cool it was just to be able to walk down there, all the shops. I was eating Thai and walking and getting coffee in the morning, coffee at night, and it was just a good time. The Airbnb was just nice. It was on top of this garage in the back of this guys, blah 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 blah. Good times, man. I can't say enough. Bozeman Breweries were generally, without a doubt, fantastic. There's just really no other question. The best porter came out of there was from Bozeman Brewing. I just had that Pearl Street Porter. Fantastic. Let's see. They have a place right up the street from there called Mountains Walking. And I would have to say that would be like the West Coast hazy sour house. Right up the street from Bozeman Brewing. In fact, actually, up the street's long. It was more like 20 steps or something like that. They're really close. But the diversity between those two, and apparently they've worked together, they're friends. There's no, animosity there. And they do 2 different things. I mean, they're breweries. Yeah, they make beer, but the diversity of what they both make is just like they could almost be in the same house and they could just probably survive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been to when they have all these breweries in a certain spot, if one of them is, if they're all the same, it doesn't work.
No. So there is where I work, their headquarters is outside of Pontiac, Michigan. So I will go and when I'm done with work, I usually take an Uber or something like that, and if I'm not with my coworkers, or I'll go and I'll just go to this little area in Pontiac that's like 3 or 4 different microbreweries, and they're all just completely different. They all just have different vibes, different beers, different styles, and like you said, if it was all the same, you'd be like, well, why am I going to 3 different breweries? I could just go to one and get the same stuff. So I think it's really nifty that they have the 2 different kind of variants. And Mountains Walking is a really great name for a brewery, I have to say. That's really cool. I like
Mountains Walking, yeah. And I don't know, they just had food. They seem to be more of a higher end type. The food was a little bit higher end, and it seemed like they just wanted to give you more higher end beer too. Whereas Bozeman Brewing was more like they had a food truck there. That was more like your local pub. That was when you have a neighborhood, and you want a cool pub. That's what Bozeman was like. I ended up exchanging beers with them. I gave them a couple of New Glarus beers. They gave me a 6-pack of their porter that I love. I was like, oh, can we do a share here? And he's like, yeah. So we end up talking in the brewmaster. Every time I bring beer to any of these breweries, the brewmaster usually comes out. And then he's like, what are you giving me? You know, we usually have a conversation. And it's just really good time. This is why I love these road trips. And this is why I'm looking at a road trip more than I'm looking to fly. Because then I can just bring beers and just give beers out and just, who cares? I don't care. You know, I'm not doing this for, Doug and I have had many conversations. This Daddy Porter thing is never going to make me money ever. That's how I look at it. I'm not looking at it as money. It's just it's a hobby. It's fun.
I like bullshitting about beer, and I think that's what makes it fun.
Right. So if someone ever wants to pay us, we will take the money. But we're not here.
Yeah, that's not a problem. But like, it's not something we're going into it thinking, "Oh, this is going to make us some loot." No, it's more like we're just enjoying it. And
so
we enjoy shooting the shit with each other too, so that helps.
Right. So and that goes on the road, man. So when I take beers on the road, I'm not. This isn't me taking beers on the road so people remember Daddy Porter. I really could care less. This is me taking beers on the road, sharing the beer love, and I don't know if I get some back, that's great. But like I said, over at Imagination Nation, I didn't really care what I got back. In fact, I didn't get anything back. I drank very little of their beers. I paid the full price. I bought 2 T-shirts. I should have bought 6, like Michelle said. Michelle's like, you should have just bought all the shirts. She's like, that place. She's not she doesn't even tell me to buy everything all the time. But she's like, that place, you should have bought all the shirts. And I'm like, you're right.
Well, if you got something where it's like, hey, I really enjoy this place. And you know how it is. You go some places and you can sense that this is a cool vibe and the people are there to be cool about stuff. We've all walked into a place where you just feel like there's just a coldness to it and it doesn't work.
Right. Like Black Hawk Brewing.
Yeah. Wait, anyway, call them out there, man.
One day we'll all go to Black Hawk Brewing. Why not? So anyway, let's see. Is there? So there. I got to mention 3 other breweries here, man. I have to. So what's this one? Oh, so Bridger Brewing in Bozeman. It was my first stop in the morning. It was my first stop on my second day there. Long story shorter, I got out of there with a 4 flight sample and a slice of bison pizza for $10.
Bison pizza?
Yeah. It had little slices of buffalo. Oh, and the buffalo. I don't know if you ever had buffalo. It was spicy, and it was really good. It was just like I'm telling you, man, the pizza was like East Coast pizza, man. It was. I was shocked. I was like, okay, because when I moved to the Midwest, I pretty much gave up having good East Coast pizza. So, like Neapolitan, you know what I'm talking about, comes out round. I just gave it up because it's just not. Sorry. So anyway, we're back to that. But there, it was really good. So a flight and a slice of pizza for $10. I was like,
you can't beat that, man. That's a great deal.
And it was good too. It wasn't dog shit beer or dog shit pizza at all. It wasn't like like a dive bar where it's like, okay, cool, I'm in a dive bar. So Bridger Brewing, fantastic, and they got you go up to the top layer, they got a beautiful view of the surrounding area and the mountains and all that too. So then Bunkhouse Brewing, I went there. That's the place that did we talk about they had a porter with absinthe.
You mentioned that before, and you were, let's just say, not a big fan of that.
They had 8 beers on tap, and that was the only one I didn't like was the porter. I'm not a licorice guy. Porter? Was that?
It was an absinthe porter.
Yeah.
It was a licorice porter. All right, I'd have to side with you there, man.
Right, and Bunkhouse Brewing, they do funky shit. I wish I would have had something else. They do funky shit. I think it wasn't a dandelion beer. They had something funky though. Everyone was like a funky one, so that's what they do, and that's cool. And out of the 8 that I had there, the only one I didn't like was the absinthe porter. I don't know if I'm ever gonna like that shit. So long story shorter, the young lady behind the bar was very, very congenial and conversational and all that. So it was cool. So I was like, you know what? I told her the story that I put on my page. I was like, you know what? Montana charm is a thing. You guys are really charming. You're really nice. You're just, like Southern charm. I was telling her, I was like, I feel that here. And she's like, oh, that's really nice. That's great. But you know what? I do got to give you a tip. I was like, she's like, I think he came here at the right time, which is early June. And I'm like, why do you say that? She's like, because we just got out of the biggest assholish winter in my whole life. Like, we were tired of winter. Like, if you come here in early May, you might get grumpy Montana. And I'm like, oh, okay, because we're just tired. Like, we're outdoors people. You see how beautiful it is here, and we just get stuck inside. And if you don't ski, I'm told if you don't ski, snowshoe, or like, cross country ski, there's really nothing you can do out there.
You have cabin fever like hell. Oh my God.
Right. And she's like, look, I'm a hiker. I got peaks to make. If it's all snowy, I can't go up my peaks. They just shut them all down. So as a hiker, I only have 4 months, and you better give me my 4 months, is what she was saying. It was really cool, but she gave me an insight on like how people in Montana think about, obviously they know they have a shitty ass winter. They know that. And they're cool with that, actually. They're like, okay, we have winter, but can you stop at June? Like, June needs to be. That's their thing. And they're like,
I would think May would be the cutoff, but they're also in like way north. So,
yeah. And it was funny because one of the people at one of the breweries said, yeah, we just got like 2 weeks ago, we got 3 feet of snow here. So, like, and I was like, what? They're like, yeah, it was like 2.5 weeks, but yeah. And I was like, we're just done. We're like, enough. Okay. But it was cool. She really gave me insight on like, come to Montana at this time. If you're just gonna come visit, this is the time. You're gonna get the best. Everybody's happy to be out. Everybody's on all that. So the last stop I have to talk about in Bozeman, which is my last stop in Montana for my 6 days, was Matt Brewing. You and I talked about this. Matt Brewing is the picture that I used to advertise this live podcast. So you saw it with the you walk out the back there. Mountains, water, trees, big sky. It's just a fantastic spot there. I can't say enough about the brewery there. And I met the brewer at we were at a brew fest. They took it to brew fest 2 days ago at the conference. 2 days ago in the conference. And I met the brewer there, and he's like, I was like, oh, I saw him. I was like, oh, you're Matt Brewing. I'm going to see you guys on Tuesday, so I'm not going to have any of your stuff here. I'm just going to scoot by you and go to another one because I'm going to come to your brewery and have all your beers. He's like, oh, when are you coming? He gave me his number. He's like, oh, man, I'll hook you up. Just tell me when you're coming. Let's have a conversation, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, I never called him. Things just move fast. So I just show up there, and he's like, hey, you never call me. What's going on? So he goes behind the bar, and I had already ordered like 2 flights and something. He just like took care of that bill. He gave me a growler to go, and then I ended up going to my car and giving him a whole bunch of new Glarus and stuff that I had in there. So it was just more beer love. And it was just nice to, and I was like, I don't know. There's some level, you're a blogger too. So there's some level of this where I believe they're just being nice to me, start saying nice things. But there's some level, but what they should know about me is that I don't blog. So it's no. They haven't done enough research. But no, this is vlogging. This is blogging, and I'm singing their joys right now. And I will continue to, because Matt Brewing is one of the best breweries that not only that I met there, the people there are nice, congenial, warm, and then look at that view. I mean, where else to get that view? So not happening. Not happening. And I had a couple weeks ago one of the shows, when I came back from Montana, we talked. I had Matt Brewing.
Yeah, and you had a shirt on.
Yeah, I went with Space Goat, but Matt Brewing was the runner-up.
More not brewing. Sell your soul.
Nice. I didn't even see that.
Oh my god, dude! It's one of my favorite shirts. And it's like kids going in here selling their soul. This is another kid at like a lemonade stand. It has like a whole series, like Let's Summon Demons, and like it's just really ridiculous and great. Anyway, sorry.
No worries. No worries. I could sit here and talk about Matt Brewing forever. Matt Brewing was another one that I spent too little time there. I met my friend Firkin Ron. He's another blogger that was at the conference. Me and him were there. I met him, and we had lunch. I probably spent an hour there. If I spend an hour in a bar, it's a pretty good one, or a brewery, it's a pretty good one. And usually I'm trying to get out of there. I have brewery ADHD. As you say, even the good ones, Imagination Nation, even there, I was like, okay, I gotta go. Shit, fuck. So
I'm going to be looking forward to doing brewery tours with you because this is going to be fun when you're like, all right, we got to go. And I'll be like, yeah, but look at this place.
No,
like, yeah.
we got to get I'll see you guys. Cool. I'll see you next spot. Then later I'm like, damn, we should have stayed. But again, this is part of the whole thing is, in my opinion, in order to get a good view of the scene around, you have to go to as many as you can, even the shitty ones. And unfortunately, they affect the whole thing. But again, in order for me to say Bozeman, the beer there is just fantastic and it's better than Hellena, I have to have them all. And it is better than Hellena. And I love Hellena, but Bozeman, man, they're killing it. So, I touched on all the ones that I thought were fucking great there, man. If you, in my opinion, out of all those spots, Missoula and Bozeman are the places to go. In Montana, Bozeman for sure, because if you stay there, Yellowstone's less than an hour away, and that was another regret of mine. I didn't get to Yellowstone. Less than an hour away, like right over there. Boom, you're there. So this is really nice. The proximity of all these things. Once you spend, 4,000 hours to get into Montana, everything's kind of close. That's what it felt like, man. 4,000 miles. Anyway, so leave Bozeman. That's pretty much the end of my Montana trip. So I figured that I would go back home. If I don't have a map here, but I could go back home either North Dakota the way I came, or I could go South Dakota. So I figured I'd go South Dakota because I've never been in Wyoming. So I dip into Wyoming a little bit, and then you can, if you know the geography out there, you can see that Montana, north of Wyoming. Wyoming is west of South Dakota. So dip into Wyoming a little bit and then hit South Dakota. I'm headed to Rapid City, South Dakota, and then I can stay there at night and then make it back home in 11 hours. So I get to Sheridan, Wyoming, and they have a brewery there called Black Tooth. And it's
Black Tooth. What a name. I like that.
And so I'm like, oh, this is great. It's in the middle. It's like 6 hours from Bozeman and like 6 hours from Rapid City. So it was in the middle. So I'm like, okay, great. I'll stop there and have a beer. So I roll into Sheridan, and I got there early. Blacktooth didn't open until 12, and I got to Sheridan at 11. So get gas, texting you guys, all that stuff. So I'm just driving around. And I'm like, oh, I'll stop at a liquor store. Go in the liquor store. Go in the back and where the craft beer is, and there are two people there, and they're shopping and I'm shopping, and we're kind of like, you ever go to a craft beer place and like you're shopping with somebody and you're like doing that dance where like you're here and they're there and then you switch. Yeah, we were dancing and it was cool. And I was like, oh, how you doing? And we kind of like talked a little bit, and I'm filling my shopping cart, and it's one of these you ever see these short carts that have like a double decker?
Yep.
Like they don't have the big ones, they have like so I'm loading all this beer onto the top of this double decker thing, not on the bottom, on the top. So I go in the front, and the lady who I was talking about in the back, they're just buying a whole bunch of beer for some party they're having. So I was, wait behind them. They go out, and I pay. I go out the front door, and I'm like, there's a ledge there. So take the little cart, try to go over the ledge. What happened was, like I was trying to like go off the back, like lift the front up and then just go off the back. But instead, because I had all the beer on the top, not the bottom, it went like this. And then I went over the cart, literally. And when I go over the cart, my legs just go flying, and they both got like caught between the cart, and there was like these nuts that were like sticking out, like these I don't know how to explain it. And they scraped really bad to both sides of my calves, to the point to where like it was open and like big gashes. So at that moment, instead of going to the hospital, I started texting you.
Yeah, you're like, dude, check out my legs. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with your legs?
Oh, it's no problem. So like the lady that I was talking to and all that, she had like pulled out, but she saw me spill. And then she sees me like walking around, and she's like, what the hell's going on? Oh my God, you got to go to the hospital. And I was like, I'm going to Rapid City, South Dakota. I'm not going to anybody's hospital. She's like, okay, well, you got to go. Listen, go to Walmart, go to the pharmacy. They'll help you out. So she goes to her car, comes back with antiseptic wipes, and she's just trying to help me. I wasn't gashing bleeding, but I was bleeding. These things were open. And I was like, I don't care. Put my stuff in the car and let's go to this brewery. Who cares? And I'm gonna. And meanwhile, I have like literally, it's a shame that we do this live because I could just put the pictures up there. But you weren't the only person. There was a blogger group that we had talked about during the conference. I was texting them, and I'm texting my lady, and I'm like, look what's going on. And everybody's coming back at me, and I'm like, look, just leave me alone. I'm gonna go to the brewery, and then I'm just gonna like figure this out. So I go to the brewery, and I'm bleeding, and I'm just trying to keep it together, and I'm literally eating my lunch and trying beer. And this stuff is just not. So then I don't know, man. I just get in the car and I go to Rapid City, and I get to Rapid City. yes. I get to Rapid City, and I was just, full disclosure, my lady's a nurse, so she was, I was just like, "What's going on? What do I do?" She's like, "This is great. This is great." Okay. I was like, "These things are look." I got to do something. I got to put something on them. I can't just go to bed with all this, like, this exposed like this. She's like, look, plenty of women have periods in hotels. Shut up. And I was like, what? What? No, I'm going to Rite Aid. Not Rite Aid, Walgreens. So anyway, long story short, I went to Walgreens.
Tampons.
What'd she say? What'd you say?
Or pads.
Yeah. She's like, many women have periods in hotels and they deal with it. And I was like, okay. Like,
thanks for the bit of support, hon.
Right. It's one of those things where, like, as a man, like, women deal with stuff that men don't deal with, period. Right. And when a woman tells you that, and you're like, it's like, oh, fuck, like,
yeah, you're right.
Right. As a guy, you're just like,
I never think of that because I don't have to.
Right. And I'm a fucking idiot on some level because I don't, you know what I mean? Like, you, not just you are, but you feel that way. You're like, oh, duh. So I'm like, no, that's not cool. I'm going. So anyway, I was in the hotel. I hauled my butt over to Walgreens, bleeding, and I just basically bandaged my stuff up, and just, I was able to bandage it up enough that I didn't like have blood all over the sheets in a hotel room. But I was just exhausted, man. So in Rapid City, I didn't make a brewery for that reason, because I was exhausted. I was tired. I was bleeding. I was like, no. So it's funny. I didn't make any breweries in South Dakota, Minnesota. But so I made it home, and as you know, it took 2 weeks for my legs to heal. There was almost an infection. I didn't have to go to the hospital, but my lady's a nurse, so she did we did the, we're the gamut. She did the gamut, telling me shit that I shouldn't be doing, telling me shit that I should do that I wasn't doing. I was being I even told you, I was like, I'm being a bonehead about all this. I'm a bad patient. But so that was interesting, man. It was fun. It was cool that lady jumped in. She didn't know me. Like, it was just more of that Western hospitality. Like,
yeah,
like I don't care who you are. You're bleeding. Let me help you. Like, and that's what it was. So it was just, I don't know, man. It was great. So I got home with 65 beers. The trip was 2,300 miles. I visited 25 breweries. It was 10 days. So it was epic. It was fun. It was great. And I will do it again.
That sounds like a pretty epic trip. Hey, we backtrack to when you were in the store? Because I have a question for you. Let's say you're at a place, and like you said, you're at a place where you're buying craft beer, and there's other people that are in the area, and they're milling about, looking at stuff. Do you ever suggest stuff to them to try if you know what it is? Or do you just kind of, pardon me, let me get through here? Like, how do you, like, there's times when I see people that look totally out of their element. And I'm like, should I suggest I should just shut my mouth? And I'm just like torn because I want to help them make a decision that might, like, give them some information that might help. At the same time, I feel like I'm being a pompous ass by doing so.
The short answer is I lean towards the second part, meaning, like, I sometimes feel that, like, I overtalk beer, or I come off as like I know too much, or like I'm trying to import stuff. So unless you ask me, I usually just keep to my own. But if you ask me, I will jump. That it's over then. If you say, "Hey,"
the only caveat to that to me is if somebody has actually picked something up that I've had, and I will say, "I've had that. I really like that," or "I don't like that." But your taste buds are your own. I'm just saying, for me, that wasn't great. I might interject that, but I generally don't.
Yeah,
where I feel like I see people that are just, the glazed I'm lost look. I'm in an area that I don't fucking know what I'm looking for. And somebody asked me to look for this stuff. I don't know what the hell I'm looking for. And I'm just like, I could say something, but will that make me sound like an asshole?
Now, maybe again, it all depends. Now, if we're at a brewery, different story.
Very much different.
If you pull up to me on a brewery, or you're next door to me in a brewery, I might even actually give you some unsolicited advice.
I will.
Brewery is totally different than
a bar. If somebody's like ordering like a whiskey, and I'll be like, "Oh, hey, what about that whiskey? How's that?" Like I'll do that, and then. All right. Now, this is something that I do in a bar that is like, I can go to any place like that and just talk to people. And it's weird that I can walk into places like by myself and I will make not friends, but I'll be able to talk my way around people and talk to people. And like, I'll have a half an hour conversation with somebody and I might never see them again, but it was fun for a half hour and I'll walk out and that's great. But it's something like people who are introverted will be like, "What the hell are you doing? How are you doing that?" And I'm like, I'm just talking to people, but like it's a different beast. Like if I'm at a store, like you said, like that's like there's a weird difference to that. I don't know why. You're still buying booze. Like why is that a different thing? Why?
Yeah, I feel more at home at breweries.
Me too.
And sometimes too. Again, it's all about your surroundings and what the hell's going on. Now, how many beers and how many sips have you had before I pulled up with you at the brewery too? Is another one. So if you had if you're on your second beer, you may be more likely to be like, "Hey, man,
your tongue might be a little looser." Yes.
Right. I don't know if you want to try it. You might just want to get a sip of that IPA. I'm not sure if you want a full one. I say that a lot, actually. I don't know if you want to go all in on that. Oh, I've had it before. It's my favorite. Okay, cool. You got it. Cool.
Awesome.
Right. But if you've never had it before, nah. And also, too, man, like, I can be very, very extroverted, clearly. But there are times where I pull up at the brewery that I don't want you talking to me. Sorry. I'm not there to have a conversation. Sorry.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
It's right, but it's rare, but there are times. And it's not that doesn't mean that I won't have a conversation with you. That doesn't mean that and sometimes those times where I walk up to a bar and I don't want to talk to anyone or when I have the best conversations ever. So I understand all that. What I mean? But my point is that it's a mindset. Sometimes you walk in to a brewery with a different mindset, whether it's, "Oh, I'm here to talk," or, "Oh, you need to leave me the hell alone." So like it's or I want to talk to the brewmaster. Sometimes you walk in and like, "Oh, the brewmaster's behind the bar. That would be cool." Because I could ask him about
what is that? Yeah.
I can. So Dunk, I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah. I think we've had a good run on this one.
Yeah. I just want to unfortunately I want to do a top 5 of my favorite breweries. But
no, that's unfortunate. I want to hear that. So let's hear what your top.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm prepared. But I know that number 1 was Imagination Nation. Imagine Nation Brewing, Missoula. How about not a top 5? How about my favorite 5? What did I just say? Imagination Brewing, Missoula. Fantastic. Snow Hop in Hellena, the female brewer. The what was it? They had another one too that was fantastic too. The Bloody Mary beer was good. They had a Rattler too that I thought was just amazing. They're just again, their regular styles are good. The style's good. So Snow Hop, Imagination. Oh, I have to mention Matt with that beautiful view and that chicken sandwich. Ooh, that chicken sandwich. And let's see here. Oh, Mountains Walking has to be said in Bozeman, and so Bozeman Brewing too. So I just gave, I think, 4 or 3. Look at that, 3 in Bozeman. Fantastic. Missoula had another one too. Where is it? Missoula had another one. I see again. This is where it gets crazy. I didn't really do my I didn't do official top 5. Actually, I will do my official top 5, and we will drop this on our Friday show. How about that?
That sounds good to me, man.
So, Doug, are we, or I don't know if we're willing to talk about whether we're our YouTube experiment here, but it worked today. So, I hope, if anybody, I'm glad who watched this, but this will, luckily, this live show will immediately save onto the page so people can go back and see it. I'll put a nice little thumbnail on it, or some tag, or some whatever, something. Anyway, we'll shape it all up, but it's going to be out on the YouTube page, and I think we're going to do the live show on the YouTube page this Friday. I'm not sure.
We should.
I think we should too. So we will be announcing that, and we'll tell everybody what's that going on. So Doug, thank you for listening to me and being my cohort again, and listening to me blab about Montana for an hour. And I could do it for another hour. I fucking love that place. Oh my god!
It seems like you had a pretty awesome time, and I'm glad we got to talk it through.
I love it. I'm just trying to get the family to go back, hopefully in 2021. I don't know if we can do it next year. I want to do it next year though. But I have nothing but great things to say about not only Montana as a whole as a state, but the breweries and the beer there. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be disappointed by the hospitality. You're not going to be disappointed by the rates of the food. It's generally a cheap place to go, in my opinion. Yeah. It really is. I mean, every tourist place, you got to watch it. But it's a really good family, great place. It could be a family place. It could be just a dude's place. It could be a girls' night out place. It could be a guy's place. It's just great. So, thank you, Doug, for talking with me for an hour about this, buddy. And I will see you in 2 days.
2 days, man.
What are you drinking?
Brothers and booze.
Cheers. Thanks, Doug.
Cheers,